Let's talk about what's going on in North Carolina. Our guest here, Michael Whatley, running for a critical Senate seat there. Michael, appreciate you joining us here, calling in. Tell us, what has been going on with your state when it comes to illegal immigration enforcement? There's been some very interesting exchanges I'm seeing online.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing to kind of table set for all of your listeners is the fact that my opponent, Roy Cooper, when he was the governor of North Carolina, vetoed legislation which would have forced sheriffs to honor ICE detainers and move violent, criminal, illegal aliens out of the state. And so now we have a system where we have a revolving door that's putting these criminals back on the street. They are not being deported, and ICE has come in to make a number of arrests and help clean up the mess that Roy Cooper has created in North Carolina.
People who are trying to get a sense of the scale of the illegal immigration issue, I don't know if you saw this. It was being shared broadly online. This number that in the Charlotte public school system earlier this week, there were 21,000. Now, apparently the CMS data is not finalized yet, but basically 21,000 students missed school in just the Charlotte public school district on Monday, which they say is 15%. I mean, this is kind of stunning to think that that many kids are affected by, because they have illegal immigrant parents. What's going on here? What can you tell us about this?
Well, I think it's stunning that when you look at the, millions of illegal immigrants that came across the border during Joe Biden's administration, 10, 15 million immigrants that came across, hundreds of thousands of them were known criminals who had records, and they still were released into states like North Carolina. The fact is that North Carolina should not be a border state, but we are a border state. And so, when we think about having ICE come in and be able to take these people off the street, and they're saying, there have been over 200 plus arrests so far. These are people who've been arrested who have criminal records, that people who are wanted for criminal records and need to be deported. It is absolutely a dereliction of duty for the sheriff of Mecklenburg County, sheriffs of Wake County, which is Raleigh, or Durham County, to not honor these ICE detainers. And it was a dereliction of duty for Roy Cooper to veto legislation would have forced them to be able to do that.
What kind of drain on the budget has it been for the state of North Carolina to have? And can you give us a sense? There are some places we think about illegal immigration a lot, right? You think about New York City and the state of California, Texas, places along the border. The Carolinas don't necessarily come to mind right away, but can you give some sense of the scale and also the cost for the people of your state about illegal immigration and how much of an issue it has become?
Well, it's a huge issue. When you talk about, the federal programs and the state programs to be able to help our needy, and the fact that we have, millions of people around the country, illegal aliens that were on Medicaid, the fact that we actually had to pass legislation as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill to take illegal aliens and say that they cannot be on Medicaid, and the fact that the Democrats were fighting extremely hard to try and put, those provisions back into place. When we look at food stamps, we look at the WIC programs, we look at, schools and all of the other costs that are out there, the societal costs for services for illegal aliens is absolutely stupefying. And it is remarkable that Democrats in North Carolina and around the country, including Roy Cooper, want to fight harder for illegal aliens than they do their own constituents.
We're speaking to Michael Whatley, former RNC chair and candidate for Senate in North Carolina. I know it's technically early in that cycle, Michael, but the Republican Party has already been, moving forward with your candidacy, trying to back things up, back you up in this, because I think they recognize, man, the Democrats, what kind of money are they going to put behind Roy Cooper to try to get this Senate seat?
Well, it's going to be the most expensive Senate race in the history of the country. We've seen estimates that this could be as high as $600 to $800 million that will be spent in North Carolina. We know the Democrats are going to pour hundreds of millions of dollars into the race. It's really they're one of two pickup opportunities that they have all around the country. Susan Collins up in Maine being the other one. And the fact is, we're going to have the support of President Trump. We're going to have the support of the grassroots. We're going to have the support, from people all across North Carolina to be able to go toe to toe with that out of state money. But, we look at, the amount of money that Roy Cooper is going to be able to bring in from around the country. And it's not daunting because, as we saw in the last election cycle, President Trump got outspent by $1 billion. Kamala Harris, raised and spent, $2.5 billion, but she had a terrible message. And, good policy is good politics. So we're going to win this race, even if we're outspent, because we're going to be focused on creating jobs and raising wages. We're going to be focused on keeping our kids and our communities safe. And obviously, this current conversation is a big part of that. And we're also going to focus on making sure that our men and women in uniform have what they need to protect our interests and our allies around the world.
I wanted to let you react to Josh Stein, the governor of North Carolina here, Michael. This is cut 17 on our sheet team. He's saying, well, I'll let everybody hear what he's saying. Play 17.
We've seen masked, heavily armed agents in paramilitary garb driving unmarked cars, targeting American citizens based on their skin color, racially profiling and picking up random people in parking lots and off of our sidewalks, going after landscapers simply decorating a Christmas tree in someone's front yard, and entering churches and stores to grab people. This is not making us safer. It's stoking fear and dividing our community. We are a nation of immigrants, and our state and this country is stronger because of our immigrant communities. Unfortunately, our immigration system is broken, but rather than fix it, the federal government continues to play politics with it.
So, Governor Stein in North Carolina, Michael, does he get all of his talking points from MSNBC? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is lock, stock, and barrel. The messaging platform from the far left, the progressive radical left. The fact is, if Roy Cooper had signed that legislation and sheriffs had honored their ICE detainers, then we probably would not need to have President Trump sending his administration down here and taking these people off of the streets. Nobody can dispute the fact that the hundreds of arrests that have been made are people who have criminal records and should not be walking the streets, whether it's in Charlotte or Raleigh or anywhere else in North Carolina. And the fact is that there are thousands of people who are in North Carolina jails right now that are not being turned over to ICE when they are illegal aliens is a huge problem that is the fault of Roy Cooper. It's a total failure of leadership on his part.
Now, Roy Cooper, your opponent in this Senate race, going to be trying to convince everybody that, he's a pragmatic Democrat, one of the reasonable Democrats, right? I mean, we're seeing right now in real time what that actually means on, say, illegal immigration and the enforcement underway from the Trump administration. Democrats are expected to pretend that this is like the East German Stasi picking up innocent people off the streets, whatever. Where are some other key areas of difference between what you would bring to the United States Senate versus Roy Cooper? Just so we have a huge audience all across North Carolina, I want them to hear from you how you two guys would be markedly different and what that would mean in the United States Senate.
Well, we certainly could talk about the fact that he vetoed 6 different bills with tax cuts, balanced budgets, police pay raises, and teacher pay raises. And we can talk about the legislation that he vetoed that would have kept boys out of girls' sports and men out of women's locker rooms. But I think that probably the most important thing that we're going to need to talk about is keeping our kids and our communities safe. And Roy Cooper, when he was the governor in 2020, when we had Antifa and BLM rioting all across North Carolina, was out there marching with them in protest and also signed an executive order that basically created cashless bail and pretrial release in North Carolina, created a revolving door for all of our criminals, and led to violent crime spikes in all major North Carolina cities. And that is the reason why we had Irena Zarotska, a beautiful young lady who was murdered in Charlotte, has kind of been held up as the most vivid example where her murderer had been arrested 14 different times and released under Roy Cooper's soft on crime policies, that we need to keep our kids and our community safe. That is the number one function for any government, whether it's state, local, or federal. And we need ultimately to have policies that are going to be set at the federal level to keep our kids and community safe, and we cannot trust Roy Cooper with it. But at the end of the day, this is going to come down to a vote in the Senate. And whether we're going to have somebody who will be an ally for President Trump and stand up for the conservative values of North Carolina, or are we going to have a radical, progressive, a card-carrying member of the woke mob like Roy Cooper? And ultimately, at the end of the day, North Carolina is going to side with North Carolina values. They do not want a candidate who's going to fight every day harder for criminals and illegal aliens than he is his own constituents.
Well, Michael, make sure that you keep in touch with us here and our team so that as you get deeper into this race and you have, I'm sure, a debate that will happen with Roy Cooper, we want to get the word out and continue to talk about this one because, as you point out, it's North Carolina and Maine that are the big targets for a Democrat pickup. So hundreds of millions of dollars going to be spent against you. A lot of it's going to come from Malibu and Manhattan. But anyway, as you already know, where can people go to follow what you're doing, help out, pitch in?
Excellent. MichaelWhatley.com is the website, and they can follow me on X at @WhatleyNC.
Bring home the W for us, Michael. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Take care.
It's wintertime in Ukraine. Being cold is the least of problems, though, for many displaced individuals and victims of the nonstop war with Russia. It's a country that the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews are putting their focus on right now. Through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, with your donation, you can help bring hope to those in need. Your gift of $25 will provide a box full of life-saving essentials that will help feed families and individuals feeling ignored and left to fend for themselves. The IFCJ is a wonderful organization to partner with, and we're honored to have them in the Clay and Buck family. You can show your support with a gift for those living in war-torn regions like Ukraine. With Thanksgiving coming next week, now is the time to show gratitude by helping others. To rush your gift, call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-4325, or give online at fellowshipgift.org. That's fellowshipgift.org.